Dear students, good morning. Let us start the discussion on today's newspaper, that is 13th March 2018. The first article, in a transformed electoral arena, it is about changing electoral trends in India and across the world. For the last 2 years, if you observe the elections, in India the right wing is growing. And there is also a general trend across the world for the growth of right and far right. And there is decline of centrist, moderate left, social democratic parties across the world. Now, what are the reasons for this? The growth of social media. So along with this social media, there is something called alternative facts are rising in number. So second is, young assertive leadership is leading the right wing. And here there is a point. In India, across the states, BJP has made sure that young assertive leadership taking up the charges of the government. So in this case, it has become a fight between young that represents change and world guard that represents the status quoism. So the people naturally favored the change and it has led to the electoral victories. And the third thing is use of micromanagement techniques in the elections, creation of booth level committees, monitoring the performance of these committees after the elections that have provided rich dividends to the BJP. So in this context, one thing which is dangerous to the democracy is delegitimizing the opposition. So any criticism about the government by the opposition is taken very seriously and it is being trolled by the ruling parties. So because of this, opposition is becoming very defensive and an active opposition is missing, and a weak opposition in a democracy is not in the good taste of democracy. These are the points we have to remember. The cost of education. This article talks about the rising costs of the education in India. You know that education, it has to serve a public purpose. It is the future capital of a poor person. And quality of education is definitely an important element to build the nation. And the second, education for private individuals is also a commercial activity. So, how much is the fees that the commercial educational institution has to collect from a student? So, between these two, a public objective of the education and a commercial objective of the private businessman, what is the golden mean? So, there is no set standards on this, set legal practices on this. There are two important Supreme Court cases. One, TMA Pai versus State of Karnataka. In the Supreme Court stated that the states has to confine themselves to regulate only the matters related to academics, infrastructure and management, etc. More than that, with regard to the fees, financial management, these are not the concerns of the states. And in continuation with this, in Islamic Academy of Education versus Karnataka State, Supreme Court has clearly held that the private institutions can generate surplus from the education. But it did not tell how much the surplus has to be. Now, various states like Tamil Nadu and Karnataka, they have imposed the maximum fees, limitations on the maximum fees an institute can collect from the students. So here, lack of effective implementation is the problem. And second, many a times the schools are resorting to untoward practices, innovative practices to collect the fees from the students. They say van fees, lunch fees, or one or the other fees they try to collect it. So in this context, the proper supervision, effective enforcement, and control over the finances and correct audit of the schools, these will ensure the reduction in cost of education. That's what this article talks about. Indo-French harmony. One reliable partner in Europe for India is France. It is the country which has supported India in thick and thin. Even when India conducted the nuclear tests, France did not impose sanctions on India. And the second thing is, the France is the country which has supported India's entry into United Nations Security Council without any ifs and buts. And the third thing, the France is the country that has provided us, or that has promised to provide us, enrichment and reprocessing technologies along with the nuclear reactors. So that's why the France is a trusted ally of India. And recently there was a controversy in India regarding buying of the aeroplanes from the France. Rafale deal is under consideration. Now in this case, Mr. Emmanuel Macron, the president of France, is visiting India, and there are certain important agreements which are made. The first is joint vision statement on the Indian Ocean region. So this statement is clearly to counter the Chinese presence in Indian Ocean region. And International Solar Alliance, it has come into existence during the Paris climate deal. And Prime Minister of India Modi has proposed to this. International Solar Alliance clearly talks about leveraging the solar energy for the developing countries. And the France has given $1.3 billion for this, and India has pledged $1.4 billion for this. And the third thing, nuclear energy. You know that the world's largest nuclear power plant is expected to come at Jaitapur. But Areva, which is supposed to build this plant, went into financial crisis, and the plant is getting delayed and delayed. In this context, India and France have expressed a new commitment to this. And the third and most important thing is reciprocal logistical support agreement. So it is essentially a defense cooperation between India and France. Now, this clearly shows the intention of both the countries. They want to diversify their strategic choices. So they don't want just to get confined to the existing 2 or 3 poles of the world. Whatever the choices they are coming before them, they want to leverage their choice for the greater defense of their nations. So these are the things. On the other side, if you see, the France also has given a promise to China that it will be a front leader in taking forward Belt and Road Initiative. So that's the reason why the joint vision statement on Indian Ocean region can be more stated as a statement rather than a matter or a substance or an issue with substance. That's how we can state it as. Not by fear alone. This is about GST. So the compliance of the people with GST can happen with simplified structures and smooth work processes. The fear of the taxman cannot be the only way forward. That is what it is talking about. Now this e-way bill system, interstate e-way bill system, is expected to come from April 1st. And then intrastate e-way bill system is expected to come a bit later. And it is experimented in a state-to-state manner. So that is what this talks about. These are more the procedural issues of GST. Ineffective and arbitrary. This is about recent Madhya Pradesh and Rajasthan laws to give a death penalty to a perpetrator of child rape. So, in India, the political establishment believes this way. Harsh punishment will reduce the crime. But in reality, there is no proof for it. The certainty of punishment is more important than harshness of the punishment. So, here what we need to state is the political leadership believes retributive justice is the best way to get the justice. It is to move away from their responsibilities of providing an effective criminal justice delivery system. So in this case, the preventive measures like risk assessment, management, cognitive therapy, etc. will be more useful. And the child support systems have to be better developed. And above all, the rehabilitation services to the child are important after exposing to the violence. And finally, what we have to say is the death penalty is mostly given to weak and marginalized who do not have access to even legal representation. So there is a report over here, that is Death Penalty India report of 2016. It clearly states that very large population of death row, these are from minority and marginalized sections of the society. So these are the points which he expressed over here. Always a rule maker. So it's written in a very complex language, but remember, the author suggests for India and China to move together, India to join on Belt and Road Initiative to take advantage or leverage of the infrastructure created by China. That is what this article majorly emphasizes on. And the second thing is, American style of growth has created inequalities The Chinese style of growth has caused the environmental destruction. India has to find its own developmental model. That is another point over here. Now, Maharashtra CM bows to the demands of farmers. When was the last time we saw a farmer movement in the country? We don't remember that. So, most of the mainstream media, electronic media, did not report this. But it is going to be a landmark event. This long march, it provides a way how political parties, left political parties, has to gain their relevance in Indian politics. The mobilization of grassroots level suffering, that has to be the way forward. All India Kisan Sabha has mobilized the farmers, and finally the state government has to bow to their demands. That is what we talk about over here. Next is Supreme Court admits plea on lawmaker lawyers. So many of the MP MLAs are lawyers. They also practice law. As per the Bar Council of India Act, any person who holds a permanent employment cannot practice law. Now, all of these MPs and MLAs are paid from Consolidated Fund of India. So, in this case, it is kind of corruption if they come under the definition of public servants. As for Prevention of Corruption Act, MPs and MLAs are the public servants. So, there is a clear conflict of interest, and this can come even under the scanner of corruption. So that's why the matter is before the Supreme Court now. And the next is noted positive remarks by India, says China. After the Doklam, India-China relations are slowly coming on track. That is what this article talks about. And then IIP quickens to 7.5%, inflation softens. What is IIP? There was a previous question on this. Index of Industrial Production, what does that mean? And what are the components we take in calculating the IIP that we need to understand here? That is from regular economics. In the last page, I gave you the notes that is available at lax.in/CivilsPrep. Thank you very much and all the best.